All right, here's how you do lesson 9.01 independent practice. Basically, we're going to work with likelihood. And it's basically likelihood is probability, but instead of numbers, we're going to use words. And these are the words that we're going to be using depending on the value of the probability. So here we go. Let's do problem number one, the first one that says, what's the probability? Do you have a red marble and then an even number? Here you're grabbing or taking out a marbles from a jar, and look how many we have: 5 red, 5 blue, 5 green. So what's the probability that it's going to be red? Well, if there's 5 of each color, that means there's 15 in total. And out of those 15, there are 5, okay? And that's when it's red. Now, I want to find out the probability that when I roll a 8-sided die, okay, it comes out to be even. Now, 8-sided die has 8 numbers. And out of those 8 numbers, half of them, 2, 4, 6, 8, are even. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply these probabilities. That's why I'm going to need my calculator here. So I'm going to multiply 5 over 4, 5 over, no, let me clear that up. 5 over 15, let me move this out of the way. 5 out of 15, oh geez. 5 out of 15 times 4 out of 8. See, look what I'm doing. I'm multiplying the probability of getting a red marble from the jar out of the 15 and getting an even number from an 8-sided die, and I'm going to multiply. Click on the fraction. You're going to see you're going to get 1 over 6. However, you're going to take your answer, 1 over 6, and you're going to multiply by 100 to convert it to a percent. And you can see this will be 16%. And 16% is around the 25%. So we're going to say that is unlikely. Okay. Now I'm going to do the second one, second problem. Okay, so it says here, let me change color. The probability you get any marble. So there's 15 marbles. And the chance you get any marble, that means you can pick any of the 15. So that's 15 out of 15. Times you get a 2 from rolling the 8-sided die. So there are 8 numbers in the 8-sided die. Only one of them is going to be a 2. So again, if you use the calculator, which I suggest you do, okay, so let me clear all of this up. I'm going to do 15 out of 15, okay, times, oops, I put the wrong number there, times 1 out of 8. And you're going to see what I get. I get this decimal, put as a fraction, in a new line, take your answer, and multiply by 100. That's how you make any fraction or decimal to a percent. So it's 12.5%. 12.5% again is very close to 25%. So we're going to say unlikely. And finally, the last one. So again, let me change the color of my pencil. I'm going to use red now. What is the chance you get a green or blue marble? So out of the 15 marbles in the jar, 5 are green, 5 are blue. So in total, I have 10. And I'm going to multiply that by the chance that I get any number from the 8-sided die. So the 8-sided die has 8 numbers. I can get any of the 8 numbers. See, that's 8 out of 8. And when I multiply that, again, use the calculator. So I'm going to put here 10 out of 15 and here 8 out of 8. And you can see I get 2/3. But when you multiply that by 100, you're going to get 66.7%, which is kind of closely like to the 75%. So I would say likely. And I'm going to check my answer just to make sure if I got it right. Okay, let's see what happens. And you can see I got it right. So this is how you're going to do these problems. Let's go problem number 2. Okay, let me take a screenshot first. I will be right back. So here's problem number 2. Now we're going to be working with a 12-sided dice. But we're gonna roll the die 2 times, okay? So that means I have the numbers 1 through 12 the first time I roll it, and 1 through 12 when I roll it the second time. So what's the probability So here we go now. So I'm going to do this. What's the probability in my first row? I get an even number. Now, the die has 12 sides, and out of those 12, half of them, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, are even numbers. So 6 out of 12 numbers are even. And how many numbers, when I roll the second time, number greater than 7, how many numbers out of those 12, how many are greater than 7? So that would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5. And what I'm going to do with these probabilities, I'm going to multiply. So again, using the calculator. So let me clear all of this. So I'm going to multiply 6 out of 12 times 5 out of 12. And you can see I got this fraction, but I'm going to make that to a percentage, so I can use this chart here. So I'm going to take my answer and I'm going to multiply by 100. And you can see it's 21%. So we are on the unlikely area, okay? Because 21 is close to 25. Then here is what's the chance that I get a 3 and then a 13. So 3 in my first row. There's only 1 3 out of the 12 in my first row. Times there's only 1 13 out of the 12 number. In fact, my bad. There's no 13 in the 12-sided die, so that will be 0. And when you multiply this, it's going to be 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So you cannot get a 13 from a 12-sided die, okay? So because you got 0, that will be impossible here. Okay, now we're going to do the third one. And is what's the chance you get an even number out of the 12? We already did that. That's 6 out of 12. Time, what's the probability you get an odd number in the second row out of the 12? So that will be also 6. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. There's 6 numbers. And now you're going to multiply this. So calculator again. Okay, so 6 out of 12, my first time. Oops. 6 out of 12, my first time, my first row for getting an even, times 6 out of 12, my second row for the odds. And you can see I got 0.25 or 1/4, but I'm going to make that to a percent. When you multiply that by 100, you can see I got 25%. So we are unlikely. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing is I'm assigning words to the probabilities. Okay, let's do problem number 3. Let me take a screenshot. So here is question number 3. They're asking you what's the probability. So you're gonna roll a 6-sided die first. So you have the option. You're gonna get a number from 1 through 6. That's why you see right here. Okay? And after you roll a 6-sided die, then you're gonna flip a coin. And that's what you see in the second column here. Gonna highlight in yellow. Okay, that you get heads or tail. But really what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at the last column. That's where you're gonna look. Here you're looking for these pairs. And if you count, you're gonna see there are 12 possible ways of rolling a die, 6-sided die, and then flipping a coin. So my denominators are 12. Okay, so what's the chance I get a 4 and then a head? So I'm gonna look at my last column and I'm gonna look for a 4 and then the letter H. And you can see I only have 1. So that will be 1 out of 12. And again, you're gonna use your calculator. You're gonna make that to a percent. Let me clear here. You're gonna have 1 out of 12. And you're gonna multiply that because you want to make the fraction or decimals to a percent. Okay, you're going to multiply that by 100, and you can see it's 8.3%. 8.3%. It's closer to 0 than 25, but we don't say impossible. Impossible has to be 0. So I'm going to choose unlikely. Okay. Then the second question is, what's the chance you get an even number than heads or tails? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna look at the last column, and I'm looking for even numbers, okay, in each of these parentheses. And then I'm looking for H or T, heads or tails. So you can see I highlighted all of them. And how many you have? You have 6 out of 12. Okay. So the first one was 1 out of 12. The second one is 6 out of 12, which is 0.5 or 50%. So what does that mean? That you have an even chance to roll a die and get an even number, and then a heads or a tail. So as likely as unlikely. And then the last one that I'm gonna do here, let me erase this, okay? What I'm gonna do now is I'm looking for the probability that I roll a die greater than 2. So I'm gonna highlight all the ones that are greater than 2. So all of these parentheses I'm highlighting in blue. The first number is bigger than 2. And then the second, when I flip the coin, I get heads or tail, which is everything that I highlighted. That you have an H or a T. And if you count, you're going to see you have 8 out of 12. Okay? So 2, 4, 6, yeah, 8 out of 12. And when you simplify this, you put it in the calculator, you multiply this by 100, you're going to get 75%, which is basically likely. Okay, and that's how you do all of these problems in this lesson. Okay, I hope this helps.